This is pretty bright light. Okay. Thanks everybody firstly for having me. I'm Sankarsh. I'm the founder of Savart and Starter. Savart is an asset management company. Starter is an aerospace company. And I think I did my first TEDx talk back in 2018. And then I've been called to multiple other TEDx talks since then. I've always said no, and was on the verge of saying no for this primarily because I had nothing new to talk about. Finally today, I sat down an hour before coming here, and I was thinking what exactly would I be able to share with all of you, something that I have kind of experienced or known over the last 5-6 years. So that's when I came up with this idea that I'd want to talk about mental models. So before we start, what is a mental model? Basically, a mental model is a simple explanation or an oversimplified explanation sometimes of how something works and why it does the way it does, basically. It could be about a situation, it could be an event, it could be a challenge that you're facing or an activity that you're doing. A mental model is the way you perceive the world, basically. Now, mental models as an example is something that I'll take you through in a couple of minutes from now, and how they kind of help me. But one of the most important things was I knew from day one that I was applying, and I had created my own models of how to talk, how to write, how to perceive different problems, how to kind of solve them. But when I started reading about Charlie Munger, that's when I realized that this has a name. There is a certain structure to it, basically. And mental models are not always precisely right. They are approximately right. And as Carveth Reid, a British philosopher and logician, says, it's better to be approximately right than be exactly wrong. And that's exactly what mental models helps you with. So firstly, making sense of the world. So if you notice one thing, I dropped out of college and pretty early, and I didn't know how to code. And the asset management company that I work with is all about technology. It's all about AI and things around it, and I don't know how to code. So whenever I'm interacting with the tech team, it's very likely that I do not know what they're talking about. I do not know the technical deep understanding of what they're exactly asking me. And it becomes even more difficult when I'm talking to my aerospace team. So they are actually rocket scientists. They're talking about propulsion, they're talking about structures, which I have absolutely no clue about. That's where my first mental model comes to play, the first principle questioning. So we have heard of it. All of us has heard about first principle questioning, but I'll just take you through a little more in detail about how it works. So the question, it's all about asking the question why. So whenever a team comes up and says, look, I want to buy this particular component, or we want to conduct this particular trial with our engines, the first question that I ask is why? Why do you want to conduct this trial? Why do you need this component? Why do you need it to be made outside or inside? What are the necessary prerequisites that you have to actually get this done? And is there an alternative to do that? So you see, the way to perceive things which you do not know are by asking questions. And indeed, asking questions is one of the most powerful traits that a human being can have, to be curious and to ask questions. So the question of why actually helps me make sense of the world. And I've been very often asked, right? So if I do not understand tech, if I do not understand aerospace, how am I running these two companies? This is exactly how I run them. And that's a very, very powerful way to kind of approach whatever you do. Next, in terms of decision making, every minute, every hour, every day, I have to make decisions that have consequences for me and for others, and maybe sometimes outside and beyond my company as well. So what I used to do initially is I was always confused. Should I take path A or path B? Should I make a decision, not make a decision? So there was a decision freeze. And I was very happy with it initially because I was simply procrastinating my decisions, right? I was not taking them today. I just was delaying them forever, and I was happy about it. But you know, that's not sustainable. Indecision is one of the most difficult things to kind of face when you are in any different situation. So that's when another mental model helped me kind of understand. So this mental model is about simply analyzing what is the worst case scenario, right? What is the worst thing that can happen in a particular situation? If I take this decision and the worst case scenario does not mean an irreversible damage, it means if you take any decision and the consequence of that is reversible in nature, then you do not have to think too much about it. You can actually go ahead and make the decision. So if you're making a reversible decision, the mental model of kind of making that quick decision could be very helpful. If you're making an irreversible decision, this mental model again could be a great starting point. And third, this was not part of what I was about to kind of talk, but the aspect of money. So when I was talking backstage, I was told about how kids perceive money, what they are thinking about it. So whenever I talk even to full-grown adults, when I'm sitting with them, understanding their financial goals, what do you want to do with money? All of them give me a standard answer: I want to get rich. But the problem is money is a tool. It cannot be the destination. It cannot be your purpose, basically. So whenever you say you are buying a home, you don't tell people I want to buy cement one day, right? So you don't, I want to buy bricks one day. No. You want a home where you can sit peacefully, live. That's what exactly you want to do. But then if money becomes the purpose, then you are most likely confused, basically. So the mental model that you need to build around money is, where does it take you? So if money is a tool, what's the direction that it is taking you in? And all these things require a certain amount of thought. And thought requires you to pause, it requires you to introspect and spend some time. The problem is we are outsourcing our cognition day by day. So whether it is to the GPTs of the world, whether it is to the AI tools, we are outsourcing our cognition, right? So we are reducing our thinking. So this erosion in cognition is also going to affect the way you think. And if we spend most of our time thinking in life, there is a need to have a structured and optimized process to think, whether it is about money, whether it is about decision making, or about taking or understanding the work that you're doing. All these things require a certain amount of time and thought at your end, basically. The next part of mental models is about having a multidisciplinary outset. So the most popular question that I've often been asked is, what's the relation between stock markets and space sciences? Why am I doing things which are absolutely unrelated to each other? But the reality is, if you go to the depth of these ideas or what work we are doing, they're absolutely the same. So at the quantum level, the world is, or the quantum world is leaning towards probabilistic scenarios, which means it is measured and it works in probabilities, basically. But the classical world, which is a large world that we see, I know I'm using a little amount of jargon here, but the quantum world is inside your atoms and molecules. The classical world is the world that you see. So the classical world is much more deterministic in nature. The same thing is with stock markets. In short term, there's a lot of probabilities involved, there's a lot of luck involved. In the long term, things are much more deterministic. So if you are able to understand and explore different subjects, different fields of work or different fields of life, they could be really useful to each other, and they all work in tandem. So we are often made to understand that subjects are different. This is physics, this is chemistry, this is biology, and they're all very different from each other. But at the heart, they're absolutely the same. And the faster you understand that, the more powerful it is going to be. Sometimes we mistakenly apply one subject to another. For example, again, this is an example I'm taking from Charlie Munger, applying physics to economics. So whenever you look at the stock markets, you will see on the TV, you will see on the newspapers, people talking a lot about the markets crashed because there was a tariff, there was because of so-and-so reasons. So in the short term, trying to ascertain reasons for consequences or for events is a very, very difficult idea in economics. It's a complex system. It's not easy to pinpoint and say this caused this. So especially in systems like these, we need to control the urge or the temptation to kind of explain every single event. There's a point where you say, okay, I don't understand this part. Maybe the markets are bullish in the long term and I will kind of ride that current. So there's a lot that you do not know. So understanding different subjects is great, but also applying it well is greater in fact. Second, I'll give you another example. I loved reading. I love to read books. That's how I in fact discovered both these subjects, investing as well as space sciences. But then as I started my work and I got busier with my work every day, I stopped reading fiction. So I used to think reading novels is a waste of time. Though I started with that, I quickly started getting away from reading fiction, because I said if it's not helping my work, I will not read about it. And I was quickly drying up of ideas. So believe it or not, whether you love to watch movies, you love to read fiction, they all have a very deep correlation with the work that you do. So the creative set or the atmosphere or the environment that the director has set up in a certain movie could actually inspire the user interface or the user experience for my mobile application in my company. So how things get interconnected, that is extremely powerful. So curiosity and the ability to understand and explore is one of the most key criteria that I would like to press upon. Then the last point is about checklists. Pretty simple idea, always have checklists, write down more and more. So I write what I see, I write what I don't see or I missed seeing, I write what I want to forget, I also write what I don't want to forget. So when you write, you actually remember better than anything else. And checklists are a very powerful mental model which kind of give a process to whatever you are doing. And this is quickly dying, right? The idea of maintaining checklists and especially writing down. So I write loads of books, whether I'm in a meeting, whether I'm reading a book, I have my own notes that I get at some point of time. And many times I write down, I never come back to it. It's still fine. Sometimes I come back to it after years, pick up where I left off and then complete that work. So this is another mental model that's really, really helpful. Next, so this quick short discussion that I'm having about mental models in general, it's not an exhaustive list of all models that you can create. So I'll summarize by saying that mental models, like I started with, are the way you perceive the world, the way you think, and because we think for very long periods of our life, it's important that you structure them pretty well. So if you're thinking about money, think about why do you need money? Why should you spend money? Why should you save money? What do you want to do with it? How much time of your life do you actually want to spend earning money? Maybe you want to be a dancer or an artist and you don't give a shit about money. It's absolutely fine, right? It's absolutely okay. But have that clarity very early on, and then also have a plan on how you're going to think about your finances if you're not earning money, right? So those models is what you will be kind of spending a lot of time on, and if you do it in a structured manner, it's going to help you a lot. And second, the models that I mentioned, whether it's quick decision making, inversion, or looking at the worst case scenarios, first principle questioning, this is just the start. There are at least 100 different mental models that you can look at, and a few sources that I would definitely recommend for you to read, things which I have been inspired from, apart from my experiences which I shared with you. Poor Charlie's Almanac is one great book that you should kind of look at. And Mental Models, the Great Mental Models book by Shane Parrish. So these are the things that I would absolutely recommend for you to kind of build greater depth in this aspect.